One time, I thought council already approved it.
No, it's just, this just approves it formally, but because we have to do the additional alignment of 1.3, we gotta do the appropriation and all that. So this is still part of the process. This just allows us to go to some of the mortgage loan, or promissory note, all that. Anything that the amendment affects.
So that's just replacing this page?
Yes. Page 2.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what this is.
You might have hated
Well, either way, we'll get copies for everybody. We'll see what they say and see what they do.
So that's this page here.
Well, you want to just open them first time? What time did the advertisement say? When we open it? We'll just open them first time?
It was noon, right? Noon to begin with. I think that's when they needed to be here.
So I'll just go through the top part, and then when we get new business, we'll open them. All right?
Where's that at?
Yeah, he just brought these in, give them to me.
Oh, right. So it's not on the agenda. But it should have been, yes. Old business, right? Yeah.
Well, I was gonna do it under new. I mean, before new business. Or you wanna wait till?
Well, because that's the Taste Street, right?
Okay, we'll wait. All right. Call the Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission meeting to order on August 11th, 2014. Roll call, please.
Fran Hughes.
Here.
Mike Lawrence.
Here.
Tom Rogers. Here. Donnie Bryant.
Here.
Tony Abbott.
Here.
Aaron Cook.
Here.
Pat Myers is absent, and Attorney Leslie Votaw.
Here.
Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the previous meeting? Any issues? If not, looking for approval.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Move on to announcements. There'll be a walkthrough at the Event Center Tuesday, August the 19th at 4:30. And our next regular scheduled meeting will be September the 8th at 5 o'clock. Move on to the financial report. As of, looks like 8/4, our remaining fund is $1,355,141.69. We'll move on to new business. Tom Snyder, Tom Hutchins. This is about 140 through 146 East High Street.
For the row houses, just for your.
It's actually Dennis Hutchins.
Oh.
Just there.
Once again, weren't we supposed to have this by Friday? I mean, I haven't seen it, but should this have been turned in by Friday?
Well, it would be nice, but they can present, we'll listen, but there'll be no
Start off with the fact that it's not a presentation.
decisions made tonight on this since we have not had it to review.
We're not we will not be asking for a decision.
Okay, thank you.
But it would be appropriate and nice to have this before the meeting so we could read over whatever's in here. Do you see my point?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Tom Schneider, and this is Dennis Hutchins. And on Friday, Dennis closed on the property at 140 and 146 High Street. And he's been looking at that property for a while and thinking about different things to put there.
Can I ask a question real quick? Is that the, what was his name?
Jose.
Jose?
Yes,
That's
yes,
Jose building?
from Jose.
It's both of them, Mike.
Okay, thank you.
In the executive summary, we talk a little bit about the history of the renovations, which had been taken place to preserve the buildings. In the different easements that had been signed between historic landmarks and the city of Lawrenceburg. Also, that the city had given Jose, and is along with the deed now, a 25-foot easement? 24-foot easement along the, I think, west side of the building. Dennis and his wife Mary have purchased the property, and we, together with them and some other investors from local investors and some from outside of the area, intend to renovate the properties. And the renovation will consist of the first floor of the buildings being an Italian family restaurant featuring Chicago-style pizza. It will not be a quote-unquote pizza parlor. If you look at the last 3 pages, there is some examples of the type of food that will be served there. In addition to the restaurant, the upper floors will be converted to what we call a boutique hotel. There'll be 12 to 14 rooms, and these, which includes 4 suites, and these rooms will be available to supplement the DoubleTree Hotel and the people who will be staying there.
Well, thank you for allowing me to come up, number one. And number two, it's an honor to be able to try to do a project like this, especially after having the facility down here built, the convention center, which is no longer talk, it's a reality. And it's time for Hollywood and other people to go to work and fill it. And I've got a 30-year history in the convention business, specifically this type of convention business. The Hyatt Regency in Wacker in Chicago, both towers for 14 years, and the Fontainebleau in Miami Beach for an additional 12 years. And on top of that, a lot of traveling around the country. I've been in convention centers from Hawaii to New York. And I can honestly say that this particular convention center, based on the size of the city, based on the needs of what I would like to refer to as the region, I think it's probably about as perfect as it can be on potential. And now I think they've done their job. Now it's going to be us locals and the casino and the city and all of us to do our job. The city has already stepped forward with a plan with this Hyatt Palmer, the people that are in town this week. So I'm excited about that as a citizen and as a property owner downtown. My wife and I do own our property at 118 Walnut Street. We bought it from Ed Fisher many years ago. Mary had her curbs in there for years. and we've built our apartment upstairs above it, which is about 1,800 square feet. We have been in Florida for the last 2 years, and we contacted our tenant, who was Cindy Nelson, back in July of last year, that we would be coming back May 1st for summer visits until the winter. Since we've been back here, our Florida house is sold, so we're here full-time again. And I got excited about this survey that Pat Kreider had done, feasibility study on the buildings. Mary and I almost bought the 2 buildings next to it, the orange ones, before we went to Florida to move our home there and then rent our apartment out. And we changed our mind at the last minute and decided not to do it. And I think John Davis has them now, and he's doing a wonderful job in there. The reason Tom and I asked for a few minutes to come before you tonight was to let you know that we'll have a formal presentation for you next month, and you'll have it in ample time to prepare any questions that you might have or thoughts that you have to go along. But we wanted to give you a polite, because you granted us the time, a polite heads up, and to tell you what our plans are going to be if we proceed with it and we get it done. I've taken a property such as a grist mill, I'm sure you know what grist mills were, in Virginia, and converted it to a 12-room hotel, conference center, and restaurant. And we'll provide you with the website on that. I'll provide you next month with the pictures of what it looked like before we started and what it looked like after we put the $1.2 million in it. We'll talk about the type of pizza that is going to be featured in the restaurant and the other things in our proposal. Chicago style, it's pretty unique, it's pretty wonderful, really. We drove up this weekend to eat the food and taste it and make sure we were right. There's a restaurant up there that we're going to probably bring them down, and they'll actually manage it. I don't want to get back in that business. I know Tom and Linda don't, and I don't think our other partners want to manage it on a day-to-day basis. So we've got to have professional people doing their jobs, and that'll be our responsibility. We're well aware of the failure rate of restaurants, and we wouldn't be putting our money in this project if we thought we were going to fail. I'm sure most people don't think they're going to fail, but I've been down this road a few times myself. And again, we don't want to eat up too much of your time, but we're excited about this, and we're happy to be here. And we'll field any questions tonight that you want, anything at all, or do you want to wait till next month? But again, thank you for your time.
I got a question. Are you going to be coming to the city for any funds, or?
Well, that's why we're here before the redevelopment, to let you know that we are going to apply for a grant, either with redevelopment or with Kent County. My understanding is that you guys, this committee actually refers or shepherds some project to the Kent County, and we'd be more than comfortable with presenting in front of the Kent County, which would be our preference. But we wanted to come, Mike, to you first and see if that would be your advice, based on the somewhat information you got from us. So.
Are you aware that the 10 county grant committee's rule is no restaurants?
We're aware of that, and we've explored that, and we were told that that isn't a firm commitment, that it was based on some issues in the past that have lent them to be of a mindset that that's probably a good rule to have based on past performance here. We're not looking to take an attempt at something. We're going to finish something, and we're going to put our money up, and we're going to guarantee our money. And if it takes that in certain ways to satisfy it, to the 10 grant, we'll try to accommodate those needs as well. So I don't know if that...
It is, this board would have to sponsor you to the 10 county grant.
Well, then you've answered my question.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's a sponsor required of our redevelopment then, and then if it passes, with a good favorable recommendation, it then goes to the 10 county grant.
And I'm the one that told him that, Mike, that that hasn't always been the policy of the 10 county grant. It's up to the current committee. They can change it at their will.
Any other questions?
Curiosity, if this thing went through, when would it be up and running?
That's a good question. I mean, realistically, I'll give you an answer, I'll draw an answer out of the sky. I'd be very disappointed if we're not up in the spring or summer of next year. I mean, the building is weathered, it's weathered in. There's been some improvement to it. I met with Jose before I bought it. They had no design, by the way, on what type of restaurant they were going to put in there. Their grant, they received a grant, I don't know if it was from this committee or from Kent County, I really don't know. But they got $410,000 to do 2 projects. And they didn't use a dime of it. So that grant dissolved and went away because it was a budget item that never got renewed. We are also going to do two projects. We're going to do a boutique hotel on top, and we're going to do a restaurant on the bottom. Whether or not those will generate 2 LLCs, I'm not sure yet. But they will be in tandem with each other. And I will show you pictures of what they're probably going to look like based on the mill that I did.
Will this be a complete brand-new restaurant, or is there one somewhere else that it's going to be like a second location?
Well, I could give you a website.
Just going by this menu.
No, I will provide you with a website on where that came from, and we spent the weekend there, this past weekend. And you'll love the website, I think. You can crawl all over it. The partner in Chicago, I might add, was my partner for 20 years in the convention business. And he only owns the restaurant as an investment because he loves it. He still does his business, which used to be half mine. It's called psamerica.us. I recommend, Mike, you look on it. It's psamerica, psamerica.us. Okay, and that company that's what I did for a living. I staged events, corporate events, and conventions all across the country. Harry now owns it 100%, and I think if you crawl on that website, he can add a lot. He's going to be a partner in this, I'm sure. And he can add a lot to Kelly and different people, and hopefully bring some corporate clients here, or help develop ways of bringing some corporate clients here. And again, I'm not suggesting you're going to try to go after people that do 1 and 2 million square foot exhibit halls for big shows, because you can't do that. But there's no reason you can't do in-water and out-of-water boat shows here, regional. There's no reason you can't do a whole host of special events. But Harry will add to that, and it won't cost anything for him to add to that.
Now, this old partner of yours, he owns a pizza place like this?
Mhm.
Okay.
I've got the pizza website and the mill he's talking about website I can get to you too as well.
There's a place not far from him, 45 minutes from where he is, called Nick's. I don't know Nick's website, but if you could find it, if you could Google it, Nick's Chicago-style pizza. They serve, and I didn't get a chance to take Tom and Linda there this week.
I go to
but
Mio's.
They serve 400 to 600 people a night on Friday and Saturday. 95% pizza. They have 11 ovens in the kitchen.
And that's called Nick's?
Nick's, yeah. I'm sorry.
Is that in Ohio or Indiana?
That's up above Chicago.
Oh, that is?
The only other thing I would suggest that you add, if you're going to bring this back to the redevelopment, part of any type of grant is there's a requirement of jobs, of how many jobs.
I can give you a forecast if you're interested.
And how many jobs you intend, how many people you intend to
46.
employ?
46. And that's
That would need to be part,
that's a working number.
Yeah, I would.
Can you give a breakdown of those jobs of, how many of this, how many of
We
that?
will.
Okay. That's what I would suggest
The
before coming back.
the
if
major
you
part
want.
of that will be on the restaurant, I can assure you. But keep in mind, the restaurant's going to be a lot larger than, it's going to be outside as well as inside. The easement allows us to use the outside. That's why it was granted to them. And there will be 24 feet of gardening, part covered, canopy covered, and then part exposed outside restaurant. And the sides of the building, as you now know it, are going to be opened up on the bottom. That'll be the main entrance with windows, and it'll be a great presentation. But I hope that answers the question. The 46 is a working number.
I would just suggest that you put it in any kind of, anything else you want to present to the board, and obviously get that to them the week before, Thursday at noon, before the next redevelopment meeting.
Oh, we plan
if you
to.
can.
We plan to.
Okay.
Again, we came to you today. We asked for some time. We got it. We appreciate it. And we weren't prepared to give you something on Friday because we hadn't gotten back till Sunday night. So I apologize for that, but that won't happen again. But thanks, Mike, for letting us
Appreciate it.
come up here. Anything
I'm
else?
just glad to see somebody purchase those buildings that's gonna fix them up.
I just hope I'm not holding it as long as they did.
Yeah.
Sounds
Good
like a
evening.
great idea.
Thank you.
Blair? Is that Blair? Blair Bernard, Southeast ISBDC. Okay, we'll move on. Sue Ellen, HR Director, Dearborn County.
Say that's Gail Pennington.
Hello, I'm Gail Pennington. I'm stepping in for Sue Ellen tonight. And I want to apologize because last meeting we missed you. I wanted to introduce you to our new GIS coordinator tonight. His name is Craig Zerwin. He's very excited about working with all the different boards and community boards. So I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about himself, and I'm also going to extend an open opportunity to come over to our office anytime that you want any help with anything. And as a redevelopment board, we'd like to help you out with anything that you need. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. How are y'all doing? A little bit about myself. I'm actually from Georgia. I grew up small town Swanee, Georgia, which is about 30 miles northeast of Atlanta. I went to the University of Georgia. I graduated with a degree in geography and a GI certificate. While I was at the University of Georgia, I also was a part of I did an internship with the United States Environmental Protection Agency. I developed various raster algorithms to map ecological framework on a national scale. After I graduated, I worked with a small town in southwest Georgia, City of Americas. I doubt any of y'all heard of it, but it's kind of in between like Columbus and Albany. While I was with Americas, I got the opportunity to work on several redevelopment projects. One of my biggest projects was what we call the Downtown Renaissance Project, where we totally revitalized the downtown, brought in upscale restaurants and shops and stuff like that. And I also was in charge of a project mapping out, creating a bike map trail throughout downtown, and it highlighted all the historical houses and historical landmarks throughout the city. Other than that, my specialties were I mapped out utilities, and I also did 911 address mapping. So you name it, I've probably been associated with the project like that. If y'all need anything, any GIS needs or helps, you know where to find me. My office is, I'm in the auditor's office, so I'm looking for it. Now, I've been here about a month, so I'm trying to get used to life up north. Kind of hard for me, but I mean, it hasn't been too rough so far. But I'll talk to y'all again in the springtime when I survive winter. Thank you.
I'm sorry, could you say your name again?
My name is Craig Zwiren, last name Zwiren. I actually have business cards. I can give you all my card and contact information.
Can I get a card from you?
Yeah, no problem.
Greg, welcome to Lawrenceburg. Enjoy our winter.
Yeah, what the hell, so that was crazy.
It's bad. It ain't nice.
When he said he was excited about
Thank you.
seeing snow, I thought the
Thank you.
ladies in my office were going to run him out of town on the rail.
Snow that's there one day and gone the next.
Thank you.
Thanks. We'll move on to Melissa Mitchell, sell 300 Margaret Street for a parking lot for Acapulco's. Nope. Move on to Casey Kaniga, Tate Street.
I'm Casey Kaniga, representing, and here with my mom, dad, Nancy, and Tim Kaniga, owners of Tate Street Car Wash. I stopped and talked to council a while back about Tate Street Car Wash, and kind of threw out some options of what we were looking at doing. The feasibility of a car wash kind of, it's been there and kind of gone. It's in need of some improvements. You know, I'm suggesting, we've kind of put it up for sale just with the sign, but we're probably going to be a little more proactive with it now. We thought we'd come to the redevelopment board and ask if the city of Lawrenceburg would be interested in it. There's, for a couple reasons, not just because, you know, you guys are known to be buying properties, but there's a couple easements that actually are on the car wash property there. One of them was when the new police building was built, right, the storage building right behind there. We gave up a 2-foot easement on the back in order for the right setback to take place there. And then there's a sewer easement that kind of comes off the corner. Did this, and maybe my dad could. Yeah, there was no monetary exchange necessary for that. It was just Mario, I think, had approached us and said, hey, we got this building built. We realized we're a little too close on the line. We need 2 feet of your property. We did that. But when you put the sidewalks in 15 years ago, and now you got the easement on the back corner, and you got a sewer easement coming across the corner, it all restricts you down a little bit more, and it could affect the feasibility of resale and what could be done with that piece of property. And with the city owning on both sides of it, and the fact that there's easements pertaining to the city on that, we were just exercising the idea to see if it is something that you guys would have interest in before we would maybe go further with it and investigate other options. So I don't know if there's anything else. If you guys have any questions for us in particularly, you know, I know tonight you're opening up the bids on the trailer park property, is that correct? Or not the bids, it was a redevelopment on that.
Yeah, we'll be opening bids here in a few.
Right, so I know it's of your interest in Tate Street. I mean, there's only, you know, a couple properties down through there that still remain. It seems to be a growing area, and I beat my head against the wall right now, and I'm going to be coming to the meeting tomorrow night down here to listen to what Main Street and the organization that's going to be presenting the big master plan, because I want to hear what's going on as well. But you know, with the fact of the plaza down there that's probably going to end up getting tore down, where the dollar store and the antique mall was, it's a developing area, and maybe you guys know something or would have more use of it than we would, but thought we'd start here with it. So,
Mario?
Yes, the driveway, or I should say the Tate Street frontage, we're actually going to upgrade that to put ADA sidewalks in. I believe it's going to be scheduled for next season or the end of yet this season.
We'd like to actually get it out for a late summer project, but that's yet to be determined.
And the other easement for wasn't that we built it too close? I think Mr. Fryman, per the codes, required us to have, I believe it was for a fire separation. We needed the distance.
Got you. Then the one across the corner, that's when Roland was in office and they redid the streets and went to sidewalks and did the sewer. There wasn't enough room to meet at the intersection with the sewer that they did there or whatever, so I think it is on the outer corner, but it's almost 500 square feet out on that corner, and then, you know, I guess it would just be parking lot, but
more than likely
still there.
Have you talked to anybody at the police department about it?
Have we talked to them? No.
Well, I think
I guess they
through the city, the police department had expressed some interest in that property.
I tell you, when we last was going to approach this was when Truck was in office. We were just getting ready to do all this, and then we had the big leak behind the schools happen where they hit the main and
hit the gas.
It just kind of fell all apart after all that went down. And then Truck passed on us, and we just went ahead and we've just been riding it out, and it wasn't a big thing. We've been down here, doing the school buses since '85, and now we're seeing that disappear because we're not routing anymore. So we're not down here as much. So and then the upkeep now is getting to be more, and the traffic is less, and right now, it's still maintaining itself, but, I mean, the taxes and the insurance that you keep on it is just not gonna go that much longer, so, we gotta look at doing something with it.
Have you got some kind of figure in mind
Well, I'd had it just advertised.
We could only.
I know you gotta do, at the time,
Advertise
Truck
it
told me you're supposed to do two appraisals,
And we have to
and go
advertise
middle of the
it too.
road there, whatever, and
But how much are you asking
I was
for?
asking 125, and you had to start somewhere, and I'd had some interest in it. I think even one fella come down and asked about it, doing something there and wanted a grant and whatever, which we never went anywhere with. I've had a few people ask about putting places in there, but they all want to rent or they want land contracts, and it's like, I don't know if I want to go there just yet. And because if I'm going to do that, I might just go ahead and see what options we would have to build something there or whatever. But yeah, I would think it'd be it. Go ahead.
Have you had it appraised?
Long time ago, we had it appraised. It appraised for in the high 70s. And I'll tell you, I'm paying taxes on 76, 78,000, somewhere in there.
Assessment.
The assessment's 78,000, and they say your assessment's supposed to be less than what it's worth, I hope. But, you know, I understand that anybody that would do anything with it would probably razz it, and then, you know, you got basically a lot, but, you know, that's not unheard of either. I guess that could be, I could, you know, demo it for someone if they didn't want that expense. But, like I say, we're just throwing out options and seeing if there's any interest, because it is in that corner. At one time, the police department did show some interest, like I said, for whatever, but then since they've built the building behind us, they bought, and so I don't know if they're still interested or not. Even they talked about putting the one, they wanted to keep a unit in one of the storage bays there for a while too, the task unit that they had, and then I think they found another place for that, so.
Any other questions?
Do you have anything on this, Mr. Hughes?
All right.
Everybody's familiar with it.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Move on to Pat Kreider, present feasibility study.
Well, honestly, this is kind of like old news after the fact. This agenda item was on your last meeting, was going to be on your last meeting agenda, but I had a conflict because it was the same night as my Main Street meeting, so I couldn't come and present this to you. So I'll just tell you a little bit about it. Won't take me but a minute here. Probably about 9 or 10 months ago, Main Street was very concerned about the properties at 140 and 146 High Street because they were sitting there. All the others were being developed as residential. 140 and 146 were sitting there, just, you know, watch that wall crumble every day. So Main Street decided to commission a feasibility study. We got a few matching dollars from Indiana Landmarks, and we had this feasibility study done on 140 and 146. And before I got to present it to you, this is the feasibility study, by the way. It's very, very extensive. Before I got to present it to you, I think it was either Dennis or Tom came into my office, saw it sitting there and said, "Hey, can I look at that?" Certainly, obviously, no problem. They looked at it, and within a week, they were purchasing it. So I guess you could say our feasibility study achieved what it was intended to do, which was to get the property purchased. So if anybody ever wants to look through the feasibility study, Grant has a copy, and we have several more at the office.
Can I ask how much that feasibility study cost?
Yes, $5,000. And Mr. Rezzo did it, and I've been told by several people that he gave us a very good price on it because it probably would have cost a whole lot more. We actually bid it out, and the other bids were considerably higher.
Thank you. Leslie, Hamline Chapel, Oregon.
In your packets, you have a letter from Pipe Organ Service. This was turned into us by Reverend Bill Hell. It was by the Reverend Craig.
Correct.
From Hamline Chapel, United Methodist Church. Their saying because of the construction at the event center has caused problems in the organ caused by dirt and debris that fell down. Basically, they're going to have to break it down completely and clean it all out to the tune of $8,750. They got this to us, and I did talk to EB before the meeting. Doesn't think it's going to be under any type of the construction policy, but that it may come under our general liability policy with the city. I brought it in front of you because I wanted to see what, if you guys had any
Your Honor,
suggestions.
Yes.
the adjuster is scheduled to be there at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning to take a look at it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because I had wrote right there on mine, insurance coverage.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think Mario and I talked about it, and he, we did go ahead. I didn't realize you had gone ahead and did that, but
Well, we turned it into insurance right away under our builder's risk policy at the event center.
but you don't think it'll be covered under builder's risk?
I think our builder's risk policy is not going to cover that incident. It has to be a liability exposure against one of the contractors and/or the city of Lawrenceburg.
So I assume you'll report back at the next meeting on that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And I just think, obviously, if insurance does not cover it, that it's something the city should think about doing. I mean, they've been a pretty good neighbor. They ended up giving us an easement.
I definitely don't blame it on
that
them.
type of thing, so that's why I brought it up.
Okay. We'll move on. I actually have something that's not on the agenda. I was dropped off a letter. As always, I promised to bring it up to the board. Says, to whom it may concern, my name is Luke Brett, and I own the house and property at 535 St. Clair Street. I own lots 307, 308, 309, and they total 13,068 square feet. I would consider selling you my house and property after getting 2 appraisals. Thanks for your time, Luke Brett.
Hughes.
So is there any comments on that?
I don't think we need to be buying any property.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I like Donnie to hold off till we get the other property developed first.
Okay. We'll move on to old business. Pat Kreider, 1 West High Street.
This is obviously a topic that we all have discussed previous to this. I think if you go up and down Walnut and High Street and look at the projects that have been successful in this community, they've been successful because of the efforts of the city through the Redevelopment Commission. And so I'm coming back to you for that reason now. You're all familiar with 1 West High Street. It is a very critical piece of property. Messer is no longer leasing it, so it sits there vacant. I have a potential tenant who would like to lease it. It is a business that was here during our pop-up shop program. A very high-quality business. The owner has a great deal of experience. She sells women's clothing, accessories, and accessories for your home. Very good price points. The business, I think, would fit very well with the demographics that we've been shown for the hotel. I think that clientele and the clientele from the event center would be a good match for this property. She is interested in coming back and leasing that property. She is not interested in purchasing it at this point in time. The property is for sale, and she has spoken to Mr. Fairman, and he, if he retains the property, is interested in possibly leasing to her. His preference, of course, is to sell the property. He tells me that some of the people who have looked at the property are attorneys. I've heard from some of you here and from others throughout the city that you know, we have a lot of attorneys' offices already. We need retail. It's very obvious to all of us that, you know, in downtown Lawrenceburg, our mix of retail and services is really out of balance. If everybody wants downtown to be a really viable downtown, it needs retail. And I think we have to be really clear, because I think sometimes people come across as thinking that Main Street isn't interested in the service industries or the offices. Quite honestly, thank God they've been here for all these years. The attorneys, the financial institutions, they have helped us preserve this downtown. They really have. They've done a great service for us. But now, if we want a vital downtown, we've got to have some retail. So I'm coming to you with the issue of this building. I think it's the kind of issue redevelopment needs to look at. I think I would be sorely remiss in my responsibilities as Main Street Director if I did not bring this situation before you. It's a kind of situation we don't all sit there and don't say anything about it. Then someone will say, well, gee, nobody brought it up. Well, I'm bringing it up. I think it's a situation we can't avoid. And, you know, what are the possibilities? What are the options? Well, obviously, like everybody else who is here tonight talking to you about purchasing property, the city could purchase this property. That's certainly a possibility. I understand why some of you may not be particularly interested in that. Is a purchase and then a resale a possibility? Perhaps that is something you might consider. The other possibility is I might be able to find a private investor to purchase the property. Would you possibly entertain the idea of a very low-interest loan if I could find a purchaser? Because the question comes back to this. If whoever invests in the property has a great deal of money invested in it, they're going to try to get that out of it. Then that means that the lease is going to be very high. And small business cannot afford high leases down here. We still have an issue of foot traffic, so there's not enough foot traffic to generate the kind of income that can deal with a high lease fee. So these are some real significant questions we have, and I come to you because this is really a critical piece of property. You have a huge investment across the street in that event center. And it seems to me we should want to do whatever we can to help make sure that the property around that event center helps it to be successful, so it can be successful for everybody, the surrounding business people as well as the town, as well as Hollywood, who contributes significantly to us. So I guess I come to you for your ideas and your consideration of those options that I've put before you.
Anything from the board? Nothing from the board?
Do you have any idea, you know, if they purchase the building, is there a meeting of the minds between the seller and the person who wanted to buy the building if they get a loan, or?
They have not discussed it with him at all. Actually, I think Mr. Fairman's asking price is, and I've been very honest with him, I think it's a great piece of property, a critical location, but it's also a very unique piece of property in as far as the layout is concerned, and it doesn't have any rear egress at all. So it's kind of locked in by other buildings. So I think, yes, I think the challenge of arriving at a price that everybody could agree on would certainly be a challenge at this point.
I think we need something up there, but I just don't know about clothing and furniture, you know, microbrewery or something like that, you know, I think would good return. I don't know.
Donnie, I think the problem with that building, everybody talks about maybe a bar or a restaurant or a cafe or something there. The problem is, unless the purchaser would also purchase adjoining property, there is no, and Carl can address this better than I can, there's no rear egress. I'm not sure how they would vent a hood or anything else with that situation. It's a real unique piece there. And I granted, something like a microbrewery sounds like a great idea. I'm just not sure how they would do it.
Anybody else? Anything from the board?
Right now, we're just not buying property, I know.
Would you entertain, if we could find a private investor with a decent plan, would you entertain considering that for a potential loan?
I'm gonna speak on that first. I could show you something right here that prime reason Lawrenceburg shouldn't be in the loan business. That's
Mike, I
My
didn't hear,
two
I didn't hear what you said.
just reviewing outstanding loans, paid off and still outstanding. Lawrenceburg doesn't need to be in the loan business.
I mean, as far as that goes, though, redevelopment could possibly do one. There are some limitations on that, but
That's up to this board.
that would probably have to go through Main Street, so it is a possibility. As far as, that would be from redevelopment funds, not city funds, but.
What about, Main Street purchasing it?
Well, I don't think we have the funds to purchase it at this point. I mean, we don't have that much funding to purchase it. I don't know if there's any kind of an agreement that we could arrive at with the owner.
Pat, what's the cost? What's the asking cost?
Mr. Fairman?
It's on the market for $329 right now.
329,000.
It sold 10 years ago for $275. Before the remodel.
All Lawrenceburg money put into it.
Honestly, my feelings on that is good luck.
If there could be some agreement reached on an actual price, because obviously the issue that Mr. Fairman is going to have, whether it would be the city or even a private investor, when you go to the bank, everybody looks at appraisals. Appraised value is going to rule unless he's very fortunate to have someone with very deep pockets who can pay whatever they choose for it.
Wouldn't you agree Lawrenceburg's already got a ton of money in that building?
Yeah, we know that.
It's unfortunate, yes.
What if, maybe the building owner, if he feels so confident, maybe he'll get an appraisal on that building and see what it's at? Maybe we'll all get a sticker shock.
That was also, that was part of the settlement with the picture.
Right, right.
That was the only building we didn't take back.
I know,
So,
I know.
so us buying it was him buying it for that amount of money, the $275.
And something else, and I'm just throwing numbers out, but
Sure.
if they believe it's worth $329, this board believes it's worth $150, $120, I don't know. If it's so far off, there's no sense in everybody beating their heads up against the wall trying to get a deal put together, and it couldn't come together if had to.
Right, well, then that's
And I would
probably,
think that the owners would be willing to get an appraisal if they would like to really sell it, because it's going to happen. But I know they're going to have to try to dig in for about $600. Appraisal.
I called about the property 2 years ago, and the asking price is $180.
So
if I
what's the
pursue,
assessment on it? Anybody know?
I don't know.
if we try to pursue this, can I come back and, with whatever information we have, and
I've never denied you, Pat.
engage you? Okay. It's an issue. It's kind of like, it's sitting there, what are you going to do about it? Is it just going to sit vacant? It's kind of like the property at 140 and 146. At some point, we got to break through and find an
At the same
answer.
time, if they'll lease it and you have a leaser, who knows what'll happen a year from now when that lease is up.
True.
A lot of people,
I think like
from the board to this individual to the owners of the building can see what happens over the next 12 months. Because none of us know. We hope what'll happen. We have our
Sure.
thoughts and so maybe they'll consider that.
Okay. Well, I thank you for your comments this evening, and I would ask that maybe you continue to think about it. I can tell you, I'm going to do whatever I can to see that building gets back in use. Maybe I'll be successful, maybe I won't be, but I'm going to try to make sure that a building gets back in use. And so I may be back with some information, and perhaps there's something you can assist with, or any other thoughts that you have, any options, please let us know.
And real quick, if I could ask, on the person you said wanted to lease it,
Mm-hmm.
was that part of the pop-up shop?
Yes, she was. Mm-hmm.
Did she fulfill her 90 days, stay here
Yes.
90 days?
Yeah, she has a shop in Harrison called Edgewood Design. As I said, she's an experienced businesswoman. Everything she does very, very well. I can tell you that the building and its contents would probably impress visitors to this town. I think if the buildings there and the businesses there are attractive, I think it's going to get those visitors to walk a little further down Walnut Street, which is what we want to do. If they're totally turned off by what Walnut Street, what that intersection looks like, I don't think they'll leave the event center. But if we can make that attractive and appealing, then I think that's our first opportunity to really get them to come down to the other businesses.
And are willing to lease it himself to her?
Possibility. She has discussed that with him.
One other question, why did she not stay when her 90 days was up? I mean, was it location, was it?
A couple of issues. One was the location. The location she was in is where we now have the Main Street office, and that's got a couple steps to it. It also has a planter in front of it and an awning. She said she would actually sit there, and she said, I would watch cars go down the street, and I knew they were looking for me, and they could not see my location. So the steps and just the way the building sits, it was a visibility issue for her. Also, the layout just didn't work, but at the same time, about 2 weeks after she opened the pop-up shop, her husband became very, very ill, and she was spending a lot of time just taking him back and forth to doctors and getting him, he really had a health crisis. And that's one reason she didn't stay on, because she said, I can't do this now. She said she learned a lot from that pop-up shop experience. She said she'd do her shop just a little differently in terms of the inventory. But I will tell you this, she had very high praise for the city of Lawrenceburg and for Main Street. She said everyone here was so nice to her. She said, I've never had a place where the customers came in and thanked me for being here. She said she was really impressed with the community, and I think that's why she's considering coming back. Okay? Thank you.
We'll move on to Jim Kittle, UCB Maine and US 50.
If I may, Your Honor, I put this on the schedule. Jim and I have been talking regarding this. I just want to bring it up. It's been hanging out there for quite some time. This is the old CVS site up by United Bank, and last time it was discussed in front of this board, there was discussions about trading two parcels. One's vacant, the other one had a home on it, and then there was some work done as far as investigating demoing the home, and the thought was that if UCB did it, they could do it cheaper. Well, after it was all said and done, and its location and what's all around it in the basement that's there, it was found to be pretty expensive to do it. So I'm just bringing it back up to the board. Jim's here for some discussion, but I'd just like to find out what the board how they would like to move forward with this property. Now, that would be the property on Main and Shipping, which is vacant, which is where the old church was. And then that's the, somebody help me over here with it.
It's 4th Street in Maine.
Yeah.
It's 4th Street in Maine.
4th
Yes.
Street in Maine.
That's the
church
vacant lot.
And then you've got, what do y'all call the house? Neary?
The other one is
Nelson corner front.
202 4th Street.
4th in front.
The address is 202. We did get appraisals about a year ago. It's been a year. The average of the two for the one with the house on it, 202 4th Street, was $54,000.
Right.
And the average of the two, the other one was $39,000. At the time, we were looking at the swap, and that's why we went ahead and
I
got the
thought we
appraisals
went
done.
through with EG and the swap. It's all done. We promised EG we wouldn't build another bank
Financial services.
on that property.
The final contract was never consummated because we stopped to see whether or not the demolition of the house at the corner of 202, the one there in the corner of Main and Front, I'm sorry, Fourth and Front, correct? Fourth and Front. If they, because of our bidding procedures, if they were going to be able to demolish the building for a lesser cost, like Mr. Hughes said, that's what we were exploring.
Didn't we swap the property right,
Even.
with the back of the bank there on 50?
That was the deal. That was going to be the deal. It was going to be, we would get 4th Street and the
Vacant lot.
the vacant lot in exchange for the property that.
So none of that was done?
Nope.
Can I see that? Building there on the corner?
So they don't agree to the deal then? Because that was the motion. An even swap, they tear down the houses and we make in the motion that no financial services go
Right.
there.
Yeah, and it got that far. We even sat down. There was a time when I sat down with Jim and E.G. and we talked about different things. And I think, I don't know. I mean, I didn't pursue it any further because they said they were going to get back to us as far as the demolition of that. What it would cost for that. But
I think there were some legal questions also that were still outstanding on the swap itself and how you would have to handle it.
as far as the public and private, yes. But I think what you guys said, you agreed to go ahead and go ahead with the appraisals because, we were trying to look, it was real close as far as the price, wasn't it? I don't remember what the appraisal was on the other part.
I believe it's something like 15 to 20,000 difference that we would owe
That we would
the bank. And
with the
Aaron's direction is that make it a straight up. You asked E.G. at the time he was here about making just flat out swap. So E.G. was going to go back and check with his board, but at the same time the question came up about could the bank demo that property cheaper than the city could demo the property.
Okay.
So we're still.
What, does UCB just want to purchase that property?
Originally, that's where it started, and then these other two properties got involved, but that would be something that.
I think you'd be interested in purchasing, but we thought with that corner lot, because I think Mario's met me down here, we had numerous trucks that are coming around there and hitting that pole. We just felt like if that pole could be moved, the traffic flow would be so much better.
But if it's creating a problem because of swapping private property and stuff, then
There's nothing to say we can't do that in kind, but it would have to be at the average of the two appraisals. And it didn't come up even, right?
It didn't come up even.
It didn't come up even. There's about 15 to 20,000.
It was a $15,000 difference.
Right.
We did the two appraisals.
So I guess Mr. Hughes is just asking for direction from the board of how y'all want to proceed at this point.
so
UCB is still interested in the property.
so their two properties are about 15,000 more. Is that what it is?
No, it's less.
Less.
Yeah. Correct? No.
No, it's more. We would owe them 15.
To them, because it was one.
Then we would have to tear them down?
Yes.
Yes.
And what was the estimate on tear down?
Grant, I didn't, with that last minute notice, I was running a little late.
It was a little high. Matter of fact, we looked at actually just moving the utilities versus the tear down. Maybe.
Oh, is that what's going on right now? What's going on right now next to, in their parking lot? Big hole?
Oh, that's where they're just fixing the
Yeah, we just had
asphalt.
some black.
Right.
Oh, okay.
No, but it may be cheaper to relocate those poles through their property on the backside.
I see. Instead of demoing the house.
Correct.
Well, with everything else that the board has said today about purchasing property, which I agree with, I'd recommend the board move forward with just selling the property to UCB.
I would still move on that.
That has
Do you
been.
remember what the average of two appraisals was?
I didn't bring that one. I'm sorry. On the lot next to US 50. Do you remember, Mike?
Well, it's 15,000
Could we
less
get
than
that
those two
paperwork
added.
before next meeting so we can look at, I thought it was a great deal to help out the bank, get that pole fixed in Lenary Corner, get a turn right there. It's because, I think Mrs. Canoe or Mrs. Pope said that's a shame. It was Jane. It was a shame to tear down that nice building. And it's been over a year, and it is a shame. But that intersection going to Greendale needs to be fixed. And I thought we were gonna I thought this all was done. And it's a shame to tear that building, that house down, but there's no yard.
But what he's saying now, Mario's saying now, is we could look at possibly getting an easement
To reroute the electric.
to reroute the electric behind
Through
behind
UCB's
the house.
Cause I know
The pole wouldn't be there anymore.
that
I
is
mean, we
one of the
wouldn't be
nicest
changing
looking
it.
places in Lawrenceburg. I mean, in downtown.
It's a beautiful home.
The
Yeah,
house, you mean?
yeah.
Yeah, we'll
I mean,
sell it. I mean, we'll sell it. We're willing to sell it to you in trade, but we just thought the traffic.
I'm talking about tearing it down. I think it's just too nice of a place to tear down.
Tear it down, but it just seems like we could relocate that and maybe we could run the utilities up the alley, Mario, and then go across.
We looked at going back, if we can get an easement through the property.
Connie, can you make sure this gets on the agenda next time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
And
so at the
I'll-
next meeting, we want to get all the information together and submit it to you again?
Yeah, I will get.
Okay.
And I can also, send the appraisals by email. That way you can look at them before the meeting as well.
Again, we're interested in just buying the property. We thought it was just a good move to try to help with the traffic flow, so I'm sure we can move forward with the other idea of just buying it.
So are we gonna make a determination at the next meeting then? We'll get the,
Move it to
all
the
the
next.
paperwork and,
Okay.
so if you can attend the next meeting, we'll have a better discussion on it.
I'll be here.
Thank you, sir.
Prepared, too.
Thank you.
Just sit on time.
We'll move on to, we got bid openings for Tate Street. And was there also one for industrial
Yes.
opening?
And we also did have the Proximo lot today too, but we didn't receive any bids on that. 302
No.
West East Parkway.
The park site up there?
Yeah, the little.
Have 5 partials.
This is one's which, I'm sorry.
This is for Tate Street,
Okay, thank you.
and it's 5 partials.
That's correct.
The bid for the partials is $325,000. Conditions to the bid below. The buyer will be Curtis S. Rafferty, 1111 Shive Lane, Suite 104, Bowling Green, Kentucky. Phone numbers, email. Partial number will be developed with a 10,640 square foot retail building that will be leased to Dollar General for 15 years. City's been waiting for that, our citizens. For 4 to 5 year renewals, approximately 35 years. This project will be completed within 10 months of closing of the land. An exact timeline of due diligence and construction will be available within 5 days of acceptance of this bid.
They said within 24 months. Is that what they said?
Of construction? Yeah, within 10 months.
Okay, well, because the only use we had on our thing was within 24 months of purchase.
The remaining parcels will be developed as residential, single-family homes with the Density determined by applicable code. These lots will be developed within the 3 years following the closing of the land, which doesn't meet our
Doesn't meet
criteria is
that.
24 months.
No, it doesn't. I mean, that part of it. The average of the two was 312,500.
Yeah, so they bid more than average. So we do have an issue on the 3 years on the residential homes. Should be 24 months. Conditions of the bid. The city will trade 40 feet of parking area frontage along West Tate Street for 40 foot of frontage at 321 Cook Street, see Exhibit C, for the extension of the alley from Walker Avenue. Where'd that come into play?
Walker Avenue? Is
Yeah,
the
but-
one behind it. Walker Avenue.
Yeah, I know what this is. I mean, because there was discussion before on this board buying a piece of property that they didn't agree to buy, but now all of a sudden it's tied into this.
I think the alley, the dead-end alley was discussed during some of the early meetings. And the property was a part made available to the city to be interested in for the project that we wanted to do.
Who made that determination? Because this board didn't.
No, what that says, Mike.
That was in discussion.
I think he is going to deal with that property owner directly.
Right, but it talks about exchanging with the city.
what he buys from that person directly for.
But obviously, that's what I'm saying. There was discussions on this, but the board wasn't involved in the discussions. We run an ad in the paper that we had discussions on. We didn't have discussion on that. That was not anything to do with this board, but somebody was having discussions. I just don't agree with it. Be granted a parking variance from the required 53 spaces to 36 spaces. The city will extend the alley from Walker Avenue to Cook Lane. See Exhibit F. Conditioned again on developer successfully closing on land at 321 Cook Lane with Mr. Emery Caudell. City will allow a drive access to the proposed Dollar General off the alley. See Exhibit G, solely at developer's cost. Consideration of factors as requested in the notice of offer. The size and character of the improvements are mentioned above. The proposed plans are attached as exhibits. Kurt Rafferty has been developing Dollar General since 2004 in the states of Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio. The most recent stores developed in the area have been in Aurora, Indiana, Rising Sun, Indiana, Santa Claus, Indiana, Rockport, Indiana, Palmyra, Indiana, Jeffersonville, Indiana, Shelbyville, Indiana, Fetterman, Indiana, Austin, Indiana, Wilkinson, Indiana, Bicknell, Indiana, French Lick, Indiana. Construction in progress and starting in September in Milan, Indiana. Partial number will be leased to Dollar General for an initial term of 15 years for 4 to 5 year option. The residential land will be built and sold. The Dollar General sale price, if sold, cannot be determined at this time until a final budget of construction is completed. The proposed residential units will sell for upwards of $135,000. See narrative below for factors in the consideration of this bid. In order to keep the Dollar General in downtown area, we are seeking the acceptance of this bid from Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission. This will ensure that the residents of downtown core can access the store via walking, biking, or a short drive from their homes. The store will employ between 8 to 10 people and will have a great economic impact, including the increase in the tax base received by the city. This store will also be larger than the one that closed due to the condemnation, and will offer a larger array of foods and household items at Dollar General's everyday low prices. Thank you for your consideration. And it has the exhibits. Which I'm glad to see that Dollar General bid on that.
Have everyone look at it, or?
That's what it says.
Take it under advisement. Your Honor, we ask that this time the board, motion be made to take it under advisement. Staff?
Well, if they take it under advisement, who's gonna make the decision?
Well, we can come back to you with the
Because there's
information.
To me, there's already been some talks, some things changed around in there that this board knew nothing about.
What are the changes, Mike?
Do we have a special meeting on this?
Part of
buying,
the notice of offer says contact Grant Hughes redevelopment director regarding this offering. They have met with Mr. Hughes and other staff, to see
We sat down and had a meeting with them and discussed access, and we had to come up with some type of master plan for that site, because you're talking about having housing facing
But
Cook.
there has been some of this board members that has asked, and everything's been secret. It's been private. I've asked. Aaron, have you asked?
Yeah.
So,
But as far as on-site, what this is doing is making the site accessible and planning the site for the housing and for Dollar General.
it just kinda seems convenient that something this board voted not to do and purchase got tied to it. Just seems convenient to me. Maybe it's only my thought.
And you're talking about 321 Cook Street?
Right.
Well, that was Mr. We were only offering him the average of the two, and he wanted more.
Right.
I mean,
And the
so,
board.
yeah, they
decided
weren't gonna
not to
give
do
him
anything.
more than
Right.
the average of the two.
So,
Which house is this, at 321 Cook? Who's?
It's right here, Tony, if you wanna look at it.
Map.
Anyway, Mike, what were the changes on that? Is this
about
Yeah.
them buying that, to tear it down, and then do a swap on a piece of property there to do the alley.
So the alley will come all the way through
Mhm.
and service the backside of that.
And what did they get in return for that?
Because they plan to put
Buying that house in
They just made it part of their proposal.
long ways, and the parking's out here, and they need enough. Parking, that's all parking lot right now.
The city will trade 40 feet of the parking area frontage
That's
along West Tate.
That would be
So they want
Emery Caudell here.
the frontage right up against Tate Street in exchange for that.
Is that redevelopment property or is that city property? Because remember, we did a transfer at one point.
Suggested he put it in the.
I think it's redeveloped.
Isn't that Pat O'Neill pool parking?
Well, that's the convenience of it, but now you'd be giving it away for this.
That whole parking lot?
40 feet.
40 feet.
40 feet from the
How
far
big is
outside.
the parking lot?
40 feet from the, I forget, how many spaces does it take, Mike?
That would be what, about 5 spaces?
The end row of parking next to the police station, it would take the parking spaces and the drive aisle.
8 stalls plus.
So at the most, it's, which I don't know where the property line is exactly, approximately 5 spots, parking spaces.
Did we have any other inquiries on this property?
No, that was the only bid.
This is our first notice and offer. Normally, we don't get
Right.
any bids on these.
This is like the first time we've ever been offered more, or even the average of 2 appraisals.
The other thing is that part of why he did the proposal that way, from what I understand, because Mr. Hughes did call me and, was that he didn't think Dollar General, if they can't get that additional parking here, the building would have to be back here somewhere, and they didn't think Dollar General would want it because it's too far off of the, did you already say that was? Okay, sorry.
Now, what about the 3 years on the residential with our ad said 24?
Yeah, obviously.
We go back
that's-
to them about that, or does it have to be?
Kurt's in the audience.
Oh, okay. How you doing, sir?
My name's Kurt Rafferty.
On the
3
residential?
years, we could adjust that.
So you are willing to adjust that to the
Yes.
24?
Yes.
Any other questions for the board?
And I do have a purchase agreement. I presented Mr. Caudell for his property. I don't mind telling you what it was for, is $32,000 in order to get him to sell.
Which I can't remember how much.
It was on.
Probably 18. 16, 18.
It wasn't that.
But anyway, in order
I can't remember
to
what he wanted.
help the city get that alleyway through, we did talk about extending that alley, and I did say I would try to purchase that property. That would help Dollar General if I can make an access in the back, and it would go all the way through. So basically, it was trying to do a favor for the city in extending that alley, and it really would help me if I got the other 40 foot to put my prototype, because the frontage on Tate Street's only 158 feet. I need about 200. So I could squeeze it in on 198 foot. When we had talked, one of my prototypes put the building behind the parking lot. If you all were to ever, not you, but the city that owns the parking lot or the pool, if they were to ever sell it to someone to build a building, Dollar General will be behind that building, and I would not be able to get this passed with that parking lot in front of the building. So that was one of the considerations in doing the multiple transactions with Cardell and then making the trade, is so that wouldn't happen, because I've got to open this store. It's been closed a while. If I can't make this deal work, that's why I upped the price a little bit. I'll have to go out on 50 and find a lot.
Now, how many
And
square
it'll
feet
go
was
away
this?
from, it's 10,640 square foot. The other one
Was
was
the-
in the 6,000 range. So this will allow for a lot more cooler space. Of course, I don't run their business. I just develop, own the building, and lease it to them. But I do know that in these, this is called the DG Plus. It's larger than the Aurora store, than the Rising Sun store, the last two I did in this area, which is their typical 9,100 square foot store. So their sales are strong, which has enabled us to develop and design this building to build a bigger store. So that was one of the considerations. I know that I cannot take this site back to Dollar General and have that parking lot in front of the building. So not even in front of a section of the parking lot, I can't do that.
So really, you want to get an answer as soon as possible, and it sounds like.
Well, time is running short. So, they've been closed a while. And, the appraisals have taken, a couple months longer than expected. So,
On the
as soon as
residential,
we can, I'm sorry, go ahead.
on the residential, do you know how many homes that would be?
Well, based on your zoning, I think we had I had asked, but I wasn't sure what the width was for your standard lot, the width and depth, or your square footage. I figured it would probably be at least 5 along that side.
I don't know if you can get that many in.
Well, I thought maybe 40-foot lot sizes. I did some in Bowling Green on 50-foot lot sizes. Now, if we do 50, I'd have to look at my notes. We might be able to get 4. One over on Walker Avenue, because that has a 60-foot wide width. That little finger that sticks out over there. So you're looking at 4 to 5, at least 5, possibly 6, depending on how much you take of that 321 Cook Street. Now, I'll demo the house, so I'll get it flat for you. And if you only need 30 foot, then, everything is negotiable. The main thing is getting the Dollar General built. If you don't want to do the Cook Street and extend the alley, I'm fine with not doing it. That's just costing me money. So it would be a nice access, but everyone, they'll either walk to it or drive to it off of Tate Street. So.
All right. Well, thank you, sir.
What's the status on the Emery Caudell? Are you going to buy that, or are we?
I would buy it.
You're buying it.
I presented him an offer.
Swapping the 40-foot parking lot.
Or whatever you need. If you want more than 40 foot, depending on, if we have enough to do 4 homes on that side and we have 60 foot left, I don't care if you take 60 foot. I think his lot width is 80.
You've talked with Emery Caudell?
I was with him last week, presented him an offer verbally, then I met with him this morning before I got here.
Okay.
And presented him a formal offer on paper signed.
Mike.
Yeah, on the actual building itself, the Dollar General, I know we've seen different
curb appearances?
I put some
what type of
pictures in there,
building?
and I do have some show to everybody. These are some of the examples.
Looks like part of it's brick.
I know that your building code does not require all brick or block. I would present that I would do at least 3 sides brick or block. I'm sorry I don't have enough for everybody, so.
Give them all down there.
Share, I'll get it. This is the one I'm doing right now in French Lake. That one I did in Shelbyville. This one I did in Elizabethtown.
He's taking care of everything. That's the hardest part.
This is the one I just finished in Lawrenceburg.
That looks nice.
Yeah, Kentucky. This is French Lake. This is Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. This is Elizabethtown. This one's under construction, these other ones are done. This is Shelbyville.
Now, what look would you be going with here?
Depending
Those are
on
the
my
different
layout,
ones?
I would prefer,
That's one looks nice.
That looks very nice.
I would prefer a version of this.
That
or
great big old
possibly-
sign down there like on
possibly a version of
Front
this
Street.
building right here.
That's what that is. It's a garage with a front, but, yep.
Those are all fixed down here, Mike.
He said it would be,
You just put the other one down there.
oh, okay. He said it'd either be a version of this one.
These are our picks. I don't care if that, I like these two better. That one's third best. Beats the heck out of
Big
this one.
yellow sign, or, you know.
And they still may have the big yellow sign.
Well, I know that.
I can't control that, but I'll attempt to do like in Lawrenceburg here. We did get 3 on their sides, but we have great driving in the front.
And all of it's nice, I mean.
Well, this one's very nice the way it's done.
That one's gonna be on the north side.
Okay.
But I don't have a problem, even though it's not in your code that it has to be all brick and block. If I could do 3 sides brick and block, keep the 4-side metal, I don't have a problem. Your downtown is nice. I like to do the brick and block buildings. Dollar General's budget to me doesn't always give me that, but since the store has good sales already, it did, I might be able to swing that.
Well, and that would have to all go through the planning and zoning, right? As far as any kind of variance from our.
Unless you all force me to do metal.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
No worries.
I'm just dropping you some hints. That if you like brick and block, then that's the way it might have to go.
Does the board want to go ahead and move on this tonight?
I'd like to make a motion. We go ahead selling the property.
Subject to staff approval.
Huh?
Correct.
You want to put in there,
Staff
subject to their review and approval?
Staff approval, review and approval.
What do you want to make the motion be?
They ain't gonna have to pay no more than we are they? What are they looking for, do you?
They're just gonna make sure that the bid complies with everything that's in the notice.
I said that, and then also, what you mentioned.
Yeah, and can you put in your motion that the residential will be done within 24 months?
Right.
So moved.
But I will need to rezone, the larger parcel, rezone commercial.
Which I'd have
And
to
a
go to
parking
another
variance.
board.
Yeah.
I would also add to your motion maybe a favorable recommendation from the redevelopment to the planning and zoning.
All right, so we got a motion on the floor.
Right.
There you go.
First and second.
3-sided brick.
Let's go back to this motion.
Let's go back to 3-sided brick.
Do you want to put in there that it would be 3-sided brick or block? Is that
Well,
brick or
I'm not.
brick and
I
block?
would let that up
Brick
to
and block.
Mike.
Brick and block, possible drive it, but I don't really care for the drive it, but, brick and block.
So moved. Brick and block,
The fire station looks nice across the street, or next to this property.
It would look better with the pool and the firehouse.
Right.
Very attractive facilities to have at least the 3 sides.
It will make that entire block Look very nice. Be very nice.
And on the residential side, I do have to put, per Dollar General's requirements, a fence. So the residential towards Cook Lane or Cook Street, I would have to put a fence, and then possibly towards the alleyway. So I could shield that, some of that metal with the fence that's in the back.
So there is a motion on the floor.
First and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think all our citizens will be extremely happy when Dollar General opens those doors.
When do you think you'll start construction?
Well, if I can get a purchase agreement, then I can start spending money. So, because it's about 6 months worth of due diligence on my part, and I could fast track this, because typically Dollar General allows 10 months total from the time I turn in the lease proposal. They accept it, they allow 10 months, 6 months worth of due diligence, 4 months worth of construction. I could fast track it because they call it a disaster store, the store that closed. So I could build it as fast as I can. So theoretically, the fastest one I've done from purchase agreement to lease to do my due diligence to building has been 5 months. So this will take a little bit longer because of the brick and block, and I don't want to build it in the wintertime. So I would probably try to break ground late February, maybe early March. And I could give a more accurate timeline as soon as I get we get a purchase agreement. Then that sets the wheels in motion for the whole, for me to turn it into Dollar General, which I'm 99.9% sure it will get approved. Falls within their price guidelines. As long as I don't have any obstructions, then it's a formality. So.
Well, I can do the purchase contract as soon as possible.
Okay, I think my email is on the bid proposal. You could just email it to me.
I will.
Very good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Our second bid opening is from Quality Fire Protection for the purchase of property at number 11 Hill Creek Park subdivision, which is on Industrial Drive, I believe. Says, gentlemen, we are offering a purchase price of $11,500 for the reference lot, contingent upon a detailed subsurface investigation report that is acceptable for our building purpose. We are proposing to build a slab on grade building for the relocation of our company's office and warehouse space. Our building would be between 8,000 and 12,000 square feet total, with a possible tenant space included in the footprint. We would begin construction before end of 2014, with completion in or before the first quarter of 2015. Our plan is to relocate our current office staff. Therefore, we would not anticipate adding any new employees at present. However, our long-term goal are to add 2 to 8 office employees. We plan to fund the entire project ourselves with no assistance required from the city.
Very nice.
We are currently located in Aurora and are looking to invest into the city for a long-term site for our company's growth and success.
On the amended request for proposals that was in the paper, we did add getting the property developed for such use as be started within 6 months and be completed within 24 months. Other than that, it's,
Mario, we already had the soil stuff, don't we?
Correct.
Okay.
and the original average of the two was $60,500 because it is approximately 21 acres altogether.
How much was it?
The average of the two appraisals at the time, last year, June, was $60,500.
Which it was advertised for that. Nobody responded, and
Correct. This is the arm's length deal, so it's been 30 days since
How
the
many jobs is
original.
that gonna create?
well, right now it's not going to create any. It's going to move 8 existing. And then long-term, it could add between 2 to 8.
It has just been over 30 days. June 9th was when we did the notice and offer the first one, so.
Has anybody requested the soil samples or anything for that? Mario?
Pillar did when they did their.
But I mean,
Appraisals.
Yeah. they
nobody
did.
from-
No, but, that's contained with this,
Yeah, but
it's
a lot
part
of
of our appraisal,
no, it's
An exhibit within.
an exhibit within the
right before my place, the old dump. where the old dump
geotech
and then
exploration
old road.
report. Prepared in July of 2012, that's attached to our, but no, I mean,
Mario, does that take out that road? That old road?
Yeah, the asphalt that's running parallel with the new road.
And then what I call the old dump,
downhill too, isn't
you
it?
know, it's all part of that.
There's nothing major we gotta do down to there. We got water and stuff.
I believe it's
already
as
down
is.
through there.
We've got it marked for where all the utilities are.
Utilities will have to be worked around.
Right, Lawrenceburg shouldn't have to spend $1, and it should save 20 grand that's in the line item to clean up, because has never been done.
True.
Because they had
And
20
plus
grand
we
to spend for
Did back
cleanup.
on the tax base.
Can I get your key?
Yep, and it puts it back on the tax bill.
Room, go to the bathroom.
And they're saying that there'll be,
It's an as-is sale, correct, Mike?
yep,
Yes.
as long as acceptable, let's see, where does it say? Contingent upon a detailed subsurface investigation report that is acceptable for our building purpose.
Well, they just have to be based off the geos that's presented as the exhibit in the.
With the slabs that should.
Well, they can get their own report if they want, right? They could go get their own report, but it probably,
We'll definitely make our report available.
okay.
Which if this board makes a motion to sell, I would recommend to make that motion with, they have to purchase within a 30-day period or something, would be my suggestion.
After their review?
After, well, I'd go 30 days from when we say yes. It's up to them to
Well,
get in
I
the
mean, if they have
review.
to prepare their own
If
report.
they want to take the geotech and review the one we have, and they want to go out and get a geotech firm to confirm, you got to leave them a little time for that.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
think the bidder's in the audience, I mean, if you want to
Oh.
talk to them.
hey, come on up.
Well, my only thing is, I mean, you know the property. With the easements and the utilities and everything there, it's gonna be tough squeezing a building in there.
Well,
And
that's why I
I
was
mean,
telling
and that's
them
why I
it's-
was telling him, the majority is the hillside. So, this is what I wanna do is put up a, post frame, something out that meets everything, looks nice, where we can relocate. And basically, a slab on grade is the only thing that you're gonna get on that property. The only thing that is the cleanup that's there or that needs to be done. I want to investigate that a little bit deeper and find out.
So how many days would you think you need from, if they approved it tonight?
I mean, I would say,
60 days?
yeah, I would say 60 is plenty. I mean, that gives me 30 to do my due diligence and see what all, and then, but as far as the purchase, I mean, I can, if we do that, I can, 15 days after that, you know what I mean? But I mean, 60 is plenty.
Yeah, I just don't want, there's other things that they're
Well,
it's hanging out there for
right.
2 years and nothing's going on.
I would like to do something before the end of the year. I wanted to do something before the end of last year, but it didn't, nobody was moving on it.
Right.
So, I mean, it's totally up to you guys.
Any other questions, Mario?
Well, I'd like to have staff at least meet with him, show where all the utilities are. And again, go over all the reports if he has any questions, if you have a third party to.
You got all those.
Correct.
Well, and that was kind of my other thing, is I really need to get the surveyor and get the utilities located so that we can actually see where the footprint is gonna fall.
Yeah, you got the.
You know what I mean?
Drawing in your office.
So, and then
60 days if,
parking wise.
take my recommendation, and he'll have plenty of time to do everything he should need to do. Any other questions from anybody? What would the board like to do?
Make a motion to go through with your recommendation with the 60 days and sell them the property.
They will
It would
purchase within 60 days of,
Accept the bid contingent upon the outcome of the geotech report.
That'll work.
a motion on
Within 60 days.
Within 60 days. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And just, Proximo, there was no bids that got turned in, so.
Right, but what is,
It
Just
just,
to
that was
say-
for in the first notice and offer, it's just
I know, but what's that address there?
302 West East Parkway.
Okay. And, we put a proposal out for, bids for, what was it?
302 West Eads Parkway.
302 West Eads Parkway. We received none.
The Proximo little lot, no one bid on that, but I just want to let you know it was up for tonight too as well.
And also the Park Place subdivision.
Park Place subdivision, we did get 2 appraisals back. I brought them tonight just because I wasn't sure. I don't think we've ever done any kind of motion to advertise this, which is the total on one of them was 115. The total on the second was 118, so they were really close. And that's for all 4 lots. This is in the Park Place subdivision.
Where's it at?
The Arch and Center. Arch and Center.
Over by the park.
I think, yeah, they named it Park Place subdivision, but yeah, it's been platted that way, and like I said, one was 118, one is 115, so the average of the 2 would be 115.5, no, 116, right? 116.5, there we go.
So those have not been advertised yet?
No, but I had them laying there, all my redevelopment stuff, and I thought I'd ask if you want to get a motion to go ahead and advertise those, first advertisements.
Does somebody want to make a motion to go ahead and advertise those for the average of 2 appraisals?
So move.
Second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. That's all I had. Besides what's on the.
I have one more question about another property while we're on this topic. The 19 East Williams, that's been 30 days, hasn't it?
Mhm.
Can we advertise that?
RFP?
Yeah.
Did we do an RFP on that one?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. Yeah, I guess do a motion there.
Well,
Aaron?
want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to advertise the RFP for 19 East William Street. For the average, no, the RFP, never mind.
RFP?
Yeah.
Are there any particular uses? I mean,
I think that's, you had discussed it once before, and I think you were gonna discuss the use before you went out for the RFP.
right now it's zone residential, or
No, I believe that's levy business.
it is levy business?
And, yeah, I routinely, if you're gonna advertise for the average, you need all local.
We've already done the
average is already,
You've already
yeah.
did that?
This would be the
This is
RFP.
RFPs.
That's the one right here?
Yeah. Someone asked me about it the other day.
I would like
so-
to just see, accept proposals of what people
Yeah.
present they would do there.
Okay,
I agree.
well, I mean, because.
Because, I mean, it could be a duplex,
So the
it could be a
properties-
business,
like for instance with Mr. Larson's thing, it was it's part of the city's industrial business park, and we just said for such uses. So this is zone levy business, but we would look at possible residential as well.
I think so. I mean,
Yeah,
All right,
I think, just see what
residential.
might come in.
You want to make that part of your motion? Or another motion?
for what? What do you add on there?
Just, or multi-use, I mean, whichever.
To accept proposals for, multi-use, or, what somebody would present to
Yeah, I'll add that to my motion.
build on the property. And maybe even specified, commercial or residential.
You do want the,
Be careful on the wording, since it is zoned one way, you can't insinuate that you're guaranteed another use.
Variance.
Still that process.
yeah,
They
we would,
just have to-
I can put some language in there that it would be dependent upon any kind of variances voted by the planning commission and BZA.
There
Okay.
again, if they meet all local building codes, one way or another, whether it be for existing or zone use or through variance, you would still have to meet the zoning regs. They could be the rule.
Does that go with you, Aaron?
Yes.
All that? Have a motion? Have a second?
Second.
First and second, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Grant use housing agreement.
Yes, emailed out to you all a worksheet for an agreement between Seymour Construction and City of Lawrenceburg. Kind of been gathering information from board members, and if you all recall, we did not get any RFPs on the two lots, the infill lots on, my mind's gone blank now. What am I talking about?
St. Clair?
St. Clair, thank you. The two lots on St. Clair with a potential on MLK and but they'll have to go through advertisements and those items. But anyway, sat down with Seymour Construction. We kind of worked through some stuff. As I said, I've sat down with board members and asked their opinion on items. I came up with a list of 22 items that is a thumbnail sketch of what this agreement would look like. Paul and I are bringing it to the board tonight for discussion. Our goal, of course, was to try to go to an agreement, let Leslie work on an agreement and try to get one of these houses breaking ground quickly. These houses have gone through the advertising for appraised value and for RFP. We did not get a reply. So this is being brought to you as a work in progress and to get your input on it and see what direction you all want to head. So that's what's in front of you.
Looks like a bank loan to me.
And I had this discussion before the meeting, Grant, with, because the way I look at it, I also have to look at, you know, what some other developer come in, wanting to do it or anything, is if we can get with a bank that we put up, you know, a fund that guarantees, you know, the funding, but that they do the due diligence, they take care of the loan, you know, kind of, we're out of it, we're not in the loan business, somebody's overseeing it, but at the same time make agreements with that bank of they're not going to charge a $2,500 or $3,000 closing cost, you know, get something more reasonable like $500, and then ever how it's set up for whether it's interest or a flat rate, you know, on the money is, you know, say the bank gets half of it, Lawrenceburg gets half of it, you know, on the interest, or if it's done on a flat rate. And then that way also, whether it's redevelopment, council, loan committee, whatever, they're not seeing people's financials and personal business. It's at the bank. They do it every day. And we're pretty much out of it.
Right.
You know, because I know what we're looking at here today, and hopefully you don't get mad, Paul. You know, we're looking at Paul. I trust Paul. Probably everybody trusts Paul, but the next guy that comes in, we might not know anything about him, and how are we going to say, well, we ain't going to help you, or we're not going to do this with you? Where that way the bank's got their process, you know, and they'll research people.
More or less, that's what we had set up the last time, wasn't it?
Mario, yeah.
So you would go out for RFPs for the local banks, the quote on that?
Ever what we need to do, I mean, that's
Want to
just,
be.
The thing I see is, we've done this for years, and that's why we got this stack of papers there, because there's nobody in the city that oversees all these things. Lines 1, 2, 3. Clerk treasurer doesn't watch it. You know, Mario's got to do part of it. There's too many people got their hands in it, trying to oversee it to make sure it happens, and then what happens is none of it happens, and we've got a stack of...
Well, like he said, we're not, first of all, we're not trained to do it, nor do we have the resources to do it.
and that way the bank,
not our job
that's
to
what they
do.
do, you know, and
Yeah.
and I'm sure that something could be worked out surely with, you know, whether one or two or whatever financial institutions here local that could do something, you know, on this, put a program together, and because it's, I mean, Lawrenceburg's still taking the risk of you know, but the developer's putting 20% in, I believe is what it was. You know, so if it did go belly up or whatever, I mean, there's 20% in there, but still, the bank can't lose.
Right.
The money's guaranteed there.
Well,
But
this is
it would be-
real familiar with the revolving loan fund that we had proposed early on. So, and from those discussions with the bankers, I think the only thing we saw that the bankers run into is the people who oversee the banks. There's some rules that they've got to follow. So we just need to sit down and talk with them and see what they can do, how flexible they can be.
And maybe you could get a meeting set up with a couple, you and a couple members,
Okay.
board, so they can sit in here and.
Well, but we would need to go out for at least quotes.
RFQs for
I don't know how much they would charge. I mean, you have any idea? Grant, did you have any discussions as far as that goes?
Yeah,
Charge?
we did. This loan amount's probably lower than what we were talking about 2 years ago, so I'd have to revisit it with them and bring them in. But we had some good discussion, and there was a way to do it, but it was just how you deal with the bank regulators, because they're under certain
Certainly a service,
requirements.
professional service, right?
Professional service. So we wouldn't
That
have to
could be
do,
a professional service.
we wouldn't have to do any kind of bid then. The board could do it, whoever they wanted to, professional services.
Well, it's still good to talk to
It's still good, to
all of
see,
them and get
see
the
who
input
will give
from
us
them.
the best price.
And what, I mean, I consider there's 2 local community banks.
Right.
Maybe try to offer it to both and hopefully have something set up at both that they could choose to.
We had,
I just-
we had 2 local ones, or 1 local one and 1 national one involved in those discussions.
Right.
I think if you're gonna do it too, you should do it at town. What do you think?
Lawrenceburg and
I don't know. I don't get a vote.
I was just going to say that the problem that you run into with the banks, I don't even know how they could bid on this, is because of the underwriting. If they
Well, that's
give a
why we're
loan,
gonna-
they have to do the underwriting, and
That's why we're gonna have meetings with them, see what they
Right.
say.
the only other possibility, and I just throw this out to you, would be to create a fund and have someone, whether you pay them part-time, or whatever, to do the vetting to your standards, and you wouldn't have to see the numbers, someone that you would trust, and then have them also administer the fund. Because I still think a bank is going to have some issues, because the way that revolving loan fund that Grant and I worked on was working is because somebody else was actually doing the vetting. Because if they do the vetting, it has to comply with their underwriting standards, or else they'll get in trouble with their regulators. So if you maybe created a fund and had somebody that administered it, other than a bank, I don't know, that might be a possibility for you.
Hopefully
Betting
there'll be
would be
some
done.
research. Now, what about
Betting
also,
would be done by the business, what do you call it, IBDC, right? You have SBDC.
Yeah,
You mean IE?
BDC,
SBDC.
what about, would it
Who's that?
be,
I'm sorry.
Business Development Center.
Okay, thank you.
is there more lenience with a credit union as far as they don't have the guidelines to go by? Maybe we need to look at,
Yeah,
which I think.
what it centers down to is that the bank regulators have something to say when the collateral is such. Now, on this type of loan, I'm going from memory, guys, we were trying to set this up was, since it was secured from an outside source, it allowed for those regulations not to all have to fall in place. And I think we're going to sit down and talk about closing costs, because a lot of that stuff now is being dictated to the banks for some of that cost that's involved there. But to go back one point, one board member did have a point to bring up, is that since this model is so different than what we've had out there before, and in a sense, we're looking at this financial aspect, how does the board feel about that part of it? Of course, we know this contractor, we're working with this contractor, but is this something that, as one board member put it to me, should we put it back out for proposals? because we're involved with financing now. Or potentially, or.
Paul?
It's not that I'm against or having any problems working with the bank. It's just that I'm trying to build a house of a certain quality at a certain price, and I get all these $400 and $500 things pop up on me the last 3 and 4 years, and it's just getting harder. So I think what it amounts to is a simple way to put it is when we did this, Bill and Mr. Steidel went to the bank with me. And that was 4+ years ago, Tony? 5 years ago? You know, guys, I'm all right with you not wanting to do that, but I think it might be time for you to have another meeting with them and just say, what can we do to help the program? Because, you know, you guys got to help the program in one way or the other. I'm no longer, I don't feel good about building 2 and 3 houses and having my self hung out that much without a little bit more security and a little, you know, just knowing, because I'm going through an affidavit service. I just had my closing up a little bit. There's so many things that are just coming up on there, and it's all coming out of me and Regine's pockets. It can't come out of nobody else's pockets. There's nowhere else for it to come. So all I'm asking you is to try to make this program happen. We want to build these houses. There isn't one person in that group that doesn't want to work on these houses. Everybody's committed to it. And I would like it if Grant could. I mean, I think we made some progress. There's some things that me and him talked about. But if it needs to go through a bank to make y'all happy, hell, we've got all our bills paid, and I got no problem walking in there and laying, and I have done it. The last 5 years, I think about every 6 months, they're making me do a financial report, making sure I do my taxes, insurance on every one of them. There's nothing wrong here. It's just that I'm trying to figure out how to keep this going. And the other part of it you need to realize is it's a little bit more dangerous now than it was 2 years ago. Now I'm building between 2 older houses. I ain't a rich guy. One of these houses goes bad, hey, I'm gonna move in it. I might not want to, but I'm gonna have to, which brings up another point. You know, I need you guys committed to buying property. Tonight, we just witnessed a man come in here and you got rid of, y'all be proud of yourselves. We're going to get a Dollar General and he's committed to building 3 to 5 homes. That's good. But I also heard tonight that there is a real good piece of property on St. Clair Street that we're not interested in. You just got rid of a nice piece of property. I don't think you guys realize how quick this stuff can happen if you're committed to it. That house that's on St. Clair Street is 3 lots, and if I remember right, Mario, we got 2 or 2.5 lots that Hutch had. We can put 4 houses in there if that house is purchased. But man, we don't want no more houses. We ain't done nothing with what we got. We just made one move right there tonight and got rid of a whole big parcel of property. That was a good move. Larry Weber, a month, 2 months ago, came in here with probably the best piece of property left in Lawrenceburg. Weren't interested in it. This stuff can disappear fast. We need to figure out what to do with the banks. We'll do it. It won't get done really quick, but if you guys can hook up with the bank, I don't mind putting all my money out there in this program because I know it'll work. But the other thing you haven't done is, I think, Pat, have they gave you any more money? If I was to build 5 houses right now, how much could you give me to the buyer?
Actually, it says it would be determined at a later date, the organization.
Okay, all right. I mean, that's,
We only have probably enough for 2.
don't forget this, guys. You guys are the only reason why that worked. That's it. You're the only reason why it worked.
Well, and in this day and age, 10% isn't even a down payment, so, you know, I mean, that's another consideration too, when we talked about it. 20% would be, I mean, is what is required to be put down on most things.
But still, like everything else, I still say, if they don't put skin in the game themselves.
That's the help with the down payment, not to
Right.
make the down payment.
Exactly.
Well, but here's the thing, you've been given an amount that's probably more like, what, 7 or 8% on the average of our houses. So now you're talking to 10%, but don't forget now we're building between 2 older houses, Tony. I mean, your whole idea there 5 years ago, it's worked. But the only reason why it worked was because you guys committed to giving that money to it. I don't think we would have sold a house without it. And I think it's going to be harder, but it's going to be easier for me to sell a home over on St. Clair Street if the people know that there's going to be 3 more new homes next to them, rather than one on each side, especially the guy that came in, I mean, they're right behind me. It's prime, it's what you ought to be doing. So I would like you to reconsider 2 pieces of property that you guys have turned down in the last 2 months. Boy, I'd like you to reconsider it because, go on ahead, Grant.
The property you're referring to, lots 307, 308, and 309, see, that letter just arrived today, so it wasn't in their packet.
Yeah, but I heard it.
I just read it.
Okay.
It was
You
dropped
just
off
read
to
it,
me.
so it'll be on the next agenda for discussions, but, and part of it too, in the
What's the address? I'm
discussions I've
sorry.
had.
307,
What's the address?
308, 309.
Those are lots. What's the address?
Address is 535 St. Clair.
St. Clair. Fine, if you could be sure that's on there. Thank you. One less thing I have to remember to get it on the agenda, so thank you very much.
The other thing I'd like you to, and this is a question for Mario that you guys might have to answer to him, but is, I know you got it out for abatement, and I know you're gonna be demoing it, but would you be allowed to start your advertisement or your bidding process to tear that down?
We're gonna bring that up in old business.
Okay, that's all I have. I've actually, the reason why I brought that up, I had 2 people interested in talking about the house I'm building now, but they look to the left and they're like, well, so I'd like to get her down as quick as we can.
Anything else on this?
Well, direction,
Well, my recommendation is for you, if somebody make the motion, to get with some of the banks and maybe have some meetings with
and
maybe
with
a couple members.
Couple members
Yep.
involved, and bring that back to the board. Okay.
That's my recommendation, if somebody wants to make that motion, if they agree.
So moved.
A motion on the floor, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, we'll move on. Resolution approving amendment to project agreement and other matters for the development and construction of hotel and event center.
This would be resolution number 1. Haven't done any other resolutions this year. This is to ratify the approval of the amendment, but also to let us have prepared and execute and deliver all the other instruments, letters, certificates, agreements, and documents as we determine necessary to appropriate to consummate the transaction contemplated by the resolution, the project agreement, or the First Amendment. Those are your operating covenants, your mortgage and note, obviously because the amounts have changed. I believe that's the extent of it. Is that the extent of it, the operating agreement? Okay. Obviously, we would make sure you had copies of them or whatever, but it's just to make the process go along. All parties have approved the amendment. At this time, the $3.5 million grant from the Regional Economic Grant Program is available to the project. We will need a resolution by council on Monday to proceed along these lines, but also to do the additional appropriations for the loan part of it. So, go ahead and read it if you guys are okay with that. Resolution approving amendment to project agreement and other matters for the development and construction of a hotel and event center. Whereas the Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission and the City of Lawrenceburg have entered into a Lawrenceburg Hotel and Event Center project agreement dated September 19, 2011. Project agreement with the Indiana Gaming Company, LP, an Indiana Limited Partnership, and a wholly owned subsidiary of Penn National Gaming, Inc., collectively Indiana Gaming, and the City of Lawrenceburg, Indiana City for the design, development, and construction of an approximate 180-room hotel, full-service restaurant, and event center on certain real property owned by the Commission, including all necessary appurtenances and related improvements, including furniture, fixtures, and equipment as more fully set forth and described in the project agreement. Whereas as a result of certain project enhancements as defined in the project agreement and hereafter defined First Amendment, it is anticipated that the project will exceed the budget set forth in the project agreement by approximately $4.8 million. Whereas Indiana Gaming has been awarded $3.5 million grant from the Regional Economic Grant Program, additional grant funds, and the Common Council has agreed to make available up to $1.3 million of additional loan proceeds, additional loan. The city receives revenues from the emissions tax imposed pursuant to Indiana Code 433-12, and 2, the wagering tax imposed pursuant to Indiana Code 433-13, collectively gaming tax revenues. Whereas non-statutory payments are made to the city by the operator of the casino located in the city pursuant to the development agreement dated April 13, 1994, as amended by and between the city and Indiana Gaming. Operator payments. Gaming tax revenues and operator payments are herein collectively referred to as gaming revenues. Pursuant to Indiana Code 36189, gaming revenues may be used for any legal or corporate purpose of the city, and whereas pursuant to the Indiana Code 36727, the city has the general corporate power to promote economic development and tourism. And whereas the Common Council will appropriate up to $1.3 million of gaming revenues to the Commission to provide the additional loan to the Indiana Gaming pursuant to First Amendment to the Lawrenceburg Hotel and Event Center Project Agreement, which is called the First Amendment. And whereas the Commission on October 25, 2010 adopted a declaratory resolution entitled Declaratory Resolution of the Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission establishing the Downtown Entertainment District Economic Development Area as an economic development area under Indiana Code 36714 and Indiana Code 36725, which declaratory resolution was confirmed after a statutory public hearing by adoption of the Commission of its confirmatory resolution on November 22, 2010. Now therefore be it resolved by the Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission that Section 1, Public Purpose, the Commission hereby finds and determines that A, promoting economic development and tourism in the area is a valid corporate and public purpose for which the Commission may spend public funds. B, constructing the project in the area will provide additional job opportunities, assist in the retention and expansion of significant business enterprises in the area and the city, increase the level and diversity of the tax base, and enhance the Commission's efforts for downtown revitalization, creating a vibrant, active community within a central business core, all which are of public utility and benefit to the citizens of the area and the city. C, encouraging tourism in the area will assist in stabilizing existing downtown businesses, promote new investment in the downtown central business core, and improve the overall quality of the downtown central business core. Section 2. In consideration of the Commission's desire to promote economic development and provide additional job opportunities, the Commission hereby approves the additional loan of $1.3 from gaming revenues to be appropriated by the city and transferred to the Commission as one of the terms and conditions required for conveyance of the project under Indiana Code 3671422, subsection F, subsection 6. Furthermore, the terms and the conditions of the additional loan shall be set forth in the project agreement as amended by the First Amendment attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibit A. Section 3. In consideration of the Commission's desire to enhance the area and create a vibrant, active community with a central business core, the Commission hereby ratifies and approves the First Amendment. Section 4, the Commission hereby ratifies and approves the execution of the First Amendment. The Commission hereby authorizes and directs the President, Vice President, or another member of the Commission chosen by the Mayor if the President or Vice President is unable or unwilling to execute such inability or unwillingness to execute to be attested by the Secretary of the Commission. and the Secretary of the Commission to prepare or have prepared and to execute and deliver any and all other instruments, letters, certificates, agreements, and documents as the executing official, Leslie Votel, the city attorney, or Ice Miller LLP, as special counsel determines as necessary or appropriate to consummate the transactions contemplated by this resolution, the project agreement, or First Amendment. And such determination shall be conclusively evidenced by the execution thereof. The instruments, letters, certificates, agreements, and documents necessary or appropriate to consummate the transactions, the project agreement, and the First Amendment shall, upon execution, as contemplated in here, constitute the valid and binding obligations or representations and warranties of the Commission, the full performance and satisfaction of which by the Commission are hereby authorized and directed. Section 5, this resolution shall be effective upon passage. Adopted the 11th day of August, 2014.
Could you read that one more time?
No.
Do we have a motion for approval?
That's a move.
Have a motion on the floor.
Correction.
Second.
Have a second. That's with the correction.
Yeah.
With the corrections.
Have a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And actually, there's provision for all of you to sign, so y'all could do that, and then Donnie can attest. There's not going to be anything else that the redevelopment has to do at this point. It'll be up to the Common Council to appropriate the additional funds and for us to do all the appropriation procedures, so. Thank you.
Does anybody have any additional old business?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, we do, Honor. On 519 Martin Luther King, we've got the abatement quotes in and got those released. There's about 900 square feet of transite, and that quote, for your information, was $3,408.
How much was that?
3,408.
And who was that with?
Central Insulation Systems. So once that's cleared, we can move forward with getting the quotes for demolition. So with permission of the board, we'll be going out for quotes for demolition and be bringing it back to you by the next meeting.
Anything from the board? Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to go out for quotes for demolition.
Second.
They already given permission last meeting for the abatement.
I have a first and a second. Do we have a, or all in favor? I'm sorry.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any other old business? Tim?
Thank you, Your Honor. Per last month's meeting, I wanted to give you guys an update on where we're at with two different issues with the event center and negotiations that are going on. One is the design liability that we've brought up several times. As you know, we're in the area of that $400,000 to $500,000 again, back to that number again with the design consultant and their team. We had a meeting Thursday, and I think at the last meeting we talked about tabling some decisions until the results of this meeting came back. So I wanted to tell you what went on with that. Mr. Todd and myself and my colleague David were all at this meeting, and we met with Structure Point's principal in charge, who's Jack Leshenik, as well as a couple architects and principals from the other firms that are involved. We reviewed 20 or so additional claims that we're holding against the design team for errors and omissions that were within the drawings and documents. They have yet to offer us any kind of resolution at this time. They wanted to take these 20 and add it to the current list, which is the list we gave you guys last time. That is the full list to be discussed, and then they want to then come back and make an offer to us. I've asked them for a timeline, and as of today, they have not responded to me as far as a timeline for that. So we will continue to push them. They did ask me what the city was looking for and what the city would accept as far as
retribution or payment or whatever. And I said, I can't speak for the redevelopment commission or the city, but I'm pretty sure they would accept 100% if of the claim. That's all I could tell them, is that you would accept 100%, which they're
Until
not.
they give us a number, we can't really do.
We can't, yeah, we can't even have an intelligent discussion about it until they give us a follow-up number. So, while that may seem humorous, that is, I believe that to be true, that you guys would accept 100% of that claim. So I'm just kind of telling you where we were, where we left the meeting. I would speak from my personal experience, and I think Mario would echo this. Those meetings are getting very frustrating because they continue to tell us that they don't see any responsibility in what they've left out of the project. And so we continue to have these conversations ongoing, and we push them each and every day.
Would they be amenable to, well, not to hold up the substantial completion of this project? I mean, would they be amenable to doing something later, whether it be mediation or whatever it is? They're not under the same mediation clause, are they?
I believe when we set up the contracts originally, not they, but the city and everybody that went through this all agreed to the same type of dispute resolution.
Okay,
So that if there was mediation on the construction side and the design team was brought into it, it was all the same kind of dispute resolution, so.
Well, so, I mean, that's what I would suggest to the board. Obviously, we have asked that CPS be involved in that, but, you know, without, like he's saying, without any idea of, you know, you're saying 100, they're saying 0, and we're saying all of it, so, I mean, there's...
Well, they're not saying 0.
Yeah, they're running about 10 or 15%.
Sorry, it was 21,000
Right.
out of 500,
28,000
28,000 out of 500, so 0 if, I know.
So we're continuing to work. The team is, we're still waiting on them to respond to the last meeting that we had on Thursday. As soon as we get that response, we'll be glad to send it on to the board.
Time is definitely of the essence.
It is,
because
and
we
we've
don't
told
want
them
the
that. We made that
substantial
clear.
completion to be held up for this. The other thing is, I do think, and I haven't talked to CPS about this particularly, but I do think that there is an agreement that the parties could make to not hold up the substantial completion and resolve it after. You know,
Well, if so, it may go into some type of liquidating at that point if it's
Right.
not responsive to it.
True.
We'll get close, we're gonna start hitting costs because of handling it, so.
Right.
We've gotta.
So, and you know, so have you ever broached anything like that as far as?
We didn't want to play that card quite yet.
Yeah, Any questions on that issue?
Future work with the city.
No, that's their responsibility at this point. So the second issue that we talked about is this issue of extended general conditions that we've had with 5 contractors. And we had a meeting with that last week. So part of that gap checklist or spreadsheet that you guys approved through the resolutions and all the other things that it's included as one of the exhibits has a line item in it for extended general conditions where, because the schedule extended due to the Hilton decision and all the different things, that part of that overall gap included these extended general conditions. And we had 5 contractors submit claims for this work. We have successfully negotiated, the construction team has successfully negotiated those claims either at what you approved or lower, and we can get you a full listing of what those numbers have been. The one that we have yet to resolve is with Triton Technical Services, I think is their name. They are the supplier and installer of the HVAC equipment on the property. They originally had asked for $466,000. I think the gap spreadsheet actually accounts for $260,000, which is with their last offer that they made. We have been going back and forth trying to justify cost with them. We can justify anywhere from $90,000 to $140,000 as far as what their cost should be. We met, and you weren't there, but Joe sat in on that meeting with Mario and Grant and myself. Is there anybody else there? And Joe, right? The 5 of us.
And Mr.
And the Samargandhi, or I think that's how you pronounce his name, is the president of that firm, and he clearly stated that he wouldn't take what we were trying to give him as far as what we could justify in the amount. We're looking for direction from you guys. This is another one where we could hire the CPS to come in. I guess he is waiting on us to get back to him with an official response. I told him I'd bring this to you guys today. The big difference between his number and our number is he is quoting some quoted method called the Eichle method, which determines home office overhead. And he is claiming that his company spends for our job, $31,000 a month on his home office overhead. And therefore,
it has to, exactly, I see, that's kind of our sentiment. We don't understand exactly how this is calculated. Well, take that back. We understand how it's calculated. We don't agree with the calculation. The other issue that we don't agree with is the timeline. They say their home office overhead starts the moment we issue notice to proceed, no matter if they've started work then, or 30 days from then, or 60 days from then, or 6 months from then. So there is an ongoing issue there that we're negotiating, but as of right now, they're at 260. You know, we're in the justification of the 130 range. We accounted for 260 in the gap spreadsheet, which is what's been approved, because we knew that was going to be our maximum exposure with this contractor. And so, working through this issue, we'd like to, whether this board wants to go back in at 130 again and tell them, look, this is what we can justify, or if there's some other number that you guys would be willing to come to. The project team, and Mario, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the point that we're at now is it's money decisions now, that yes, it's below the 260 that we have approved, but we want some input from this board on where you guys would like to take this and what step is next.
Well, we think we're bound to fight for it since it's taxpayers' money.
Right.
Not just because it's underneath what you may approve. More
Or what may be paid for with
my
additional
opinion
funding.
my opinion is it's
If we
time
can
to-
save on any of the additional funding, that would be good. And on that particular piece, I do think that goes back to the project, correct?
It would go back to the project, but then anything left in the project at the end would get split as the original contract stated, which would basically go to shorten their loan or soften their loan amount or whatever the case.
But as far as to go back to the design one, if we collect on that, though, that comes directly back to the redevelopment commission, correct? I believe that's the First Amendment. Yes.
Is that?
On the
okay, 'cause
design.
I thought they changed that when they.
And they changed it to that.
They've changed it back to
Yes.
that, okay.
I believe the other one just goes back to.
Any money that
To fund
we
the debt
would get
service.
back from any errors would come back to
Come back
this
to the
board.
redevelopment, okay.
What's the board think?
Mr. Hughes, you were going to say something about.
After sitting in that meeting and listening to this, it's my experience that we need to bring in somebody to start tearing it apart and getting down to the pieces of it. This Ickley method, it's strange. That's the only way I can describe it. And the interesting thing is that the gentleman's sitting there saying, you know, we don't want to have to go to arbitration and we don't want to do this. So he's trying to find a way. I think we need to bring somebody in to start tearing it apart and looking at it. Be construction processors, I'm thinking. It's at that point now.
If I might make a suggestion to the board, I would suggest that we go back at them one more time with an official offer based upon Messer's findings and everybody else's, the construction team's findings. Basically say this is what the city is willing to pony up for what we believe is justifiable per the numbers, not $31,000 a month on your overhead for 8 months or whatever the number is that he's asking for. But to go back with them with an offer, and then if they reject that and choose to go to mediation or take it to the next step, then I think it would be appropriate to engage some outside counsel and or help for your attorney to move forward with some real data there. That's my recommendation, but you guys can.
What's the board think?
Recommend we go ahead with his recommendation.
And you said the maximum you guys have come up with is 140.
It's in between 130 and 147 and change. It depends on how you calculate their overhead. And Messer's got a spreadsheet that calculates all that.
So 147 is the most you guys
You can
come up
justify,
with.
yeah.
So, and originally the offer to them was what all the other contractors accepted, correct?
Was in that range, yeah. It was in the 130 number.
Okay. So I do believe the letter that I wrote to him, though, to try to get it resolved to begin with was for 130. So if you wanted to go a little higher than that, maybe he'll take it. I don't know.
I mean,
we can't make those
I would just suggest to the board not to go at a maximum of 147.
We have to get outside help. It's going to cost us more than what we're going to recover. I make a motion, we go back
He,
to 140.
just in the effort of full disclosure, and you guys were there, he basically said that if he goes to mediation, he's gonna go after the full 466. He's gonna go back to his original numbers that he submitted. That's what he's gonna pursue. So through his discussions with Messer and the construction team, he's come down to 260. Obviously, is a big deviation from what his original ask is. And we have other information on this contractor that says that this is not uncommon for them to pursue these kind of charges and conditions in public bid projects because they know that there is some precedent for it. However, we feel that with the negotiations of the 4 previous contractors going with Messer's recommendations and the calculations that they did, we applied that same method to this one, that we believe the project team has set some good precedent as well in dealing with this conflict, which has been accepted by 4 other contractors on the project, without any questions or issues. So.
Which I would think if it went farther, that would be considered to look at all the other.
I would think that a mediator would look kindly on that.
Well, not only that, but, I mean, when you get to that point, if you have someone that can delve into their books, the Triton Services books, it may be, this whole likely method's blown out of the water, which we think is very likely.
Well, it doesn't even make sense if it doesn't matter if they start a month from now or 6 months, or if they're figuring this on a.
It's kind of. You're welcome to sit through these meetings and pound your head against the table.
Are we able to get the Triton bid?
Yeah,
in our packets or before the next meeting or something?
We can do that. We'll get all the numbers for you, Mr. Cook.
You want to just table it then?
I mean, I'm not against an offer, I just wanted to see it in case it goes further.
I think we should let him go back one more time, and then if they say no, get the numbers to us next month.
What offer?
One more time, how much?
Up to
147?
Before you do that, let me run this real quick and make sure. It's in the 147 range. I just don't want to cap it off at something we can't defend. $147,296, I think, is where the numbers that Messer has here. That's extrapolating. That gives them a few more thousand for the first couple of months, and then as they've tapered down men, it kind of reduces, and this is all per Messer's notes and numbers, and then they can, adding the 3 additional months that we talked about the other day.
Motion, we go with that figure. We can also drop back if we have to go to mediation to our original figure.
Sure we can.
Second.
And that's a maximum
Max.
of $147,296.
Yeah.
Had a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
That's all I have. You need me for anything else?
Now, if you want to, I can just do a shorter version of the first letter.
Doesn't want any official correspondence, so.
Yeah, no numbers on papers.
Well, I'm going to write a letter.
That's what the meaning am I being truthful?
Any other old business? Approval of claims once properly certified, which I had one question on a claim, I think. Fickert Devco, what is that? Fickert
That's
Devco?
For the firehouse. That was the expert that came in.
Didn't know the name.
I'm surprised I even remember, but yeah, that's what it was. Oh, just why we were talking about the firehouse, Miss Denning didn't show up. He subpoenaed her for a deposition and she didn't show up.
Yeah, I seen, he emailed us.
He actually did do a read.
And then I think she's gotta go before the judge, August, something.
Okay.
Forget.
Yeah, I just, I saw the email, but I didn't know if you were all aware as far as that goes.
Tony, do you get the emails from the, Eubank and Kramer yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody have anything else on the claim? Do we have approval? A motion on the floor, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Comments from the audience? Pat, you want to talk again? Come on up.
Observation, Mike, just an
Come on up.
observation. From sitting here and listening through this whole meeting and all these long items that have come up today, I don't know, maybe it's just the deteriorated condition of, or having a lot of deteriorated property in this community, and maybe it's the economy. But one thing that seems really clear to me, sitting here this evening, whether it's Paul's residential issues or commercial buildings downtown, I really think the redevelopment is going to be critical to resolving any of these issues. I hate to put that burden on you, but I think you all have such an important role to play here. And if you look in the past, redevelopment has done a lot of really good things. Were there mistakes? Sure. And can those be fixed? Absolutely. But I really think that everybody needs you, whether it's residential or commercial. We need you all to be a part of this. You don't have to give the money away. You can make demands. You can put conditions on it. But I think you all have to kind of lead the charge here with helping everybody get through these issues. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Motion to adjourn?
Don't move.
Motion, first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
How you do?
Probably the best thing I got, be a little more than that, is I got a 06 Impala. No, the blue.
I thought they would have been.
There's a white one, it's a 07. Trying to think, I'd have to look what I got in it, what I can do, somebody on it, 'cause I'd like to move it. I got the white one, which is 07. I got a 06 charcoal one. Yeah, it's gonna be, and then I got a blue 06. And the reason the blue 06 is less, just like somebody bumped something on the front bumper, and you know, I'm trying to think how many miles I think it's got 150 on it, around there. That charcoal, I think's got, I want to say like 106, and the white one's got like 112. But the blue one's the cheapest, just, it's got more road rash and things run good. Drove it from Indy, run good. Run it through the shop, serviced it. I got a list of anything we done to it. I can try to do some of that for somewhere 46 to 4700. I'm usually at the shop. Yeah, Bill Cheek. I don't know if you know Bill Cheek. He's a salesman for a long time at Kid Dodge. He's down there.
We need it, don't we?
7. Other than Friday, he leaves at 5. He's there on a Saturday.
No. You want Ryan to get the ball. The more, that's
Well, there's that thing in Ivy Tech, thanks to Mark.
All that
That's what I said.
stuff.
Excuse me, what's that? Hey, I just wanted to say hi.
Welcome back, yeah? We didn't like Florida.